Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we will cover the stock COSMOS Health, trading under the ticker symbol COSM. So the market has been volatile recently, and with many equities having huge swings up or down, many people are wondering where is COSMOS Health going to go, and what about its short squeeze potential. So in this video, we will take a look at the stock from a technical and fundamental perspectives, and determine what would be a recommended action to carry out for COSMOS Health. If you appreciate my content, please consider to drop a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, please check out the links down in the description, as every help is much appreciated. Before we begin today's video, I would like to state a brief disclaimer. My videos cover my opinion on the current affairs and what's likely going to happen. They're not investment advice and should be watched for entertainment purposes. My videos are prepared either immediately before the uploading or a few days before they were released on YouTube, so sometimes the price action may no longer reflect the charts. They are still relevant though, because the analysis is regarding the short-term momentums, so it should be relevant for up to a few weeks after the release. Also, the analysis aims to cover the securities as broadly as possible by covering the fundamentals and the technicals. Other than the price action and the latest news, we might also cover the long-term tendencies, the shareholder composition, the fundamentals, and other market behaviors. These will affect your decision regarding if you want to buy a stock, how many shares you want to buy, and at what price you want to buy it for. With all that being said, let's get into today's topic. COSMOS Health is an international healthcare group based in Chicago and sells nutraceuticals with two product lines, Sky Premium Life and Mediterranean. It also commercializes generic medication. The company also has presence in the United Kingdom and continental Europe through distribution partners. So overall, the company has a commercial presence throughout Europe, Middle East, and Asia. The company has an emphasis on nutraceutical research, development, and commercialization due to the low risk profiles and clear regulations in that area. It's worth mentioning that the management of the stock now has a solvency issue, putting the going concern into jeopardy. The management also mentioned that due to the recurring losses, there's eventually going to be this issue, and they now have to resolve it, either by folding the shop, taking on more debt, or issuing more shares. So, in other words, they need money, and they need the money now. This is even before all the issues regarding short selling comes in. Ultimately, the company has chosen the road of selling the equity, taking advantage of the renewed interest from retail investors. So, recently, the share price fell by about 7%, trading just above and marking a brief pause to the ongoing attempt to recovering back to the former glories at around $5. So for the time being, it's confirmed that the takeoff is currently on a pause, as we are still early in the year and the bulls may not have grouped just yet. So the share price is sitting on a support level that has been tested but also pierced before. Nevertheless, I would say that this is still a pretty relevant price level for COSMOS, and the $5 should be watched at pretty closely. As long as the price doesn't fall off too far from that price level, I would argue that the stock would still have a decent entry. So the long-term price action has been plagued by poor results, as well as piling up the short orders, causing the price to plummet for a period of time. For the period between August and November of 2022, the stock price declined by more than 83% before it recovered. So over the past few years, it has been one of those stocks that has been trading between the high tens and even low 3 digits. Of course, the whole situation is now revolved, and from a technical perspective, it looks like a historical opportunity to buy, but I think that given that we now evolve in different circumstances, like at some point we have to look at the stock that might test like the low 10s or the low 20s at most, but we shouldn't think about like beyond that level for the time being. So with that being said, we should also be able to see some significant recoveries nonetheless because of the short squeezes if they ever occur. With that being said, let's also take a look at the company's financials. As far as the company's profitability is concerned, it's obvious that things have been on a rough side. On one hand, the revenue and gross margins haven't been growing, and the operating expenses kept hovering between $2 to $3 million. What that means is that if Cosmos Health is popular with shareholders, people are also looking for the potentials that are way beyond the fundamentals. In fact, I would say that the financials, if anything, justifies the short positions. Like, this is a company that is in rough shape, and it has been on a deficit for some time now. The good news in all this is that its liabilities, at least, has been relatively under control, meaning it hasn't grown exponentially over time. It's currently around $40 to $45 million, peaking at Q4 of 2021 at $51 million. What this means is that the company is trying its best to keep things under control. Another thing that we can see is that the company's assets are almost entirely financed by debts, with a relatively small portion of its operations financed by equity. This means that Cosmos would have a significant amount of obligatory cash outflows, and if they don't comply, the company can go bankrupt. So, these assets are going to be reimbursed to the creditors in the scenario of like a liquidation, and then what's left goes to the equity side, which in this case might not be that much. So regarding the cash, it's also negative because most of the cash inflows come from financing, and this means issuance of debts. It also confirms the remarks earlier regarding debt versus equity financing, as well as obligatory cash outflows. Overall, the situation of Cosmos doesn't look good, which might be the reason why it has a huge short position placed against it. This kind of reinforces my position that Cosmos is good for trading, not exactly good for investment. Now, overall, the low cash levels would also suggest that the company has to go through additional rounds of dilutions in the near future unless things drastically change. Is this going to stop the short squeeze? Absolutely not. I mean, assuming that it occurs. Okay, like this is not going to stop the shares from going to the short squeeze. However, it can downplay its significance. Now, let's also take a look at the shareholder composition of Cosmos. So, according to Fintel, there is no institutional shareholders just yet, only retails. Now, if this were true, we're obviously looking for short-term swing trades only, because it is uncertain, to say the least, whether Cosmos is still going to be around a year from now. Now, the appeal to trade the stock short-term is definitely there because of the potential of a short squeeze. There's a massive amount of short sellers placing their bets against the company because they think that this company is going to go belly up. You know, fundamentally, do they have some, do their arguments have some weight? Yes, of course. It's not a company that's doing very well financially speaking, and this is why they think that, they're running out of options, whatever. Now, if the volume comes up, and if there's a lot of people who decide to buy the shares of Cosmos for no reason, then yes, this would force a lot of people to redeem their short positions. And this is what happened with AMC, this is what happened with GameStop. If you tell me that they have excellent business plans, I'm sorry, they don't. They don't seem that attractive, okay? But because people piled in, a lot of those institutions, in order to avoid, potentially unlimited losses, they will decide to fold. And this is what we need to see in the case of Cosmos as well, if we hope that the company can do better. So regarding my recommendation and overall exposure, I would say that if you're comfortable with trading small caps, if you believe that this company will short squeeze once again, because we have to remember they already went through a cycle of, I don't know, like volatility upward. Okay. And if you have a very diversified portfolio, then go for it. An entry should be done in the short-term future because the volatility might occur rapidly and we don't know when it's going to happen. Now, nevertheless, I think that we have at least a few weeks ahead of us. So if the price falls, it might be good opportunities to enter. And I would say maybe DCA in your way over the next month. And I would recommend to buy in Cosmos gradually and control the total exposure below 1% of your portfolio.